if I'm not going to start to record it now, I probably never will. So, welcome to my very first book review. Um, we will be having courses, and it's going to be paid courses, and it's going to be more professional each episode and each book review. So this one is going to be plain and simple. It's free. It's on YouTube, and there will be a couple of book reviews on YouTube. But most of my book reviews, especially I would almost want to say the business book reviews. I wanted to say like high ticket sales book reviews, but the financial freedom book reviews and the high end book reviews or books such as transurfing, reality transurfing. That's quite an expensive book. You just see in rands what the price is at the moment. Okay, so reality transurfing steps 1 to 5, I think. I think this book is about two grand. Yeah, on Takealot it's 1,850 rand, something like that. So I just want to take a bite here. You might think, what was that all about? Did that guy just eat like a tablespoonful of coffee? No. It is a tablespoon, yes. It's not coffee, it's Milo. It's quite, I like it. My mother told me the other day, if your energy levels feels a little bit down, just eat a spoon of Milo. Actually works. So I know you're not, okay, so I know I've changed the look and everything, but I did make some notes. So I don't want this book review to be too long, approximately 20 minutes max. So usually a book review can take up until an hour, but I'm going to go through my notes and then we're going to dive right into the review. So first things first, I haven't read this book that I'm reviewing yet. I'm going to read it, but I want it to be my first time reactions. So I'm probably not going to read everything with you guys. I don't even know if that's legal or not. I still have to dive deep into a book review. So I think I have done a book review when I was in high school and also in varsity. And just bear in mind, I do have a bachelor's degree in literature or majored in literature. So I probably have a decent understanding of how a book review should look like, but I'm well out of date because I've graduated 5 years ago. The book that we are discussing today is I Am Not, But I Know I Am from Louie Giglio. And so usually I would like to do an introduction, obviously the body of the review, the conclusion, and then also do some research on how a book review should be done now in the modern day. And then also do some research regarding book reviews of the specific book that I'm reviewing. But I'm not doing this for this video or that for this video. I do not want anything to influence this review or and my thought review process. My next book review will probably be researched well prior to filming it. Let's go and dive right into it. So I've had a look at basically this book while I was in bed last night and a couple of nights prior to filming this content. And I also saw that I liked what I saw the structure is of this book. So let's quickly have a look just at the back of the book. I'm not, but God knows my name. I am not, but He has pursued me in His love. I am not, but I know the Creator of the universe. I am not, but I have been invited into His story. I am not, but I know I am. So the great I am in this book refers to God. So you can see the title of the book is the I am not with the small letters, and then obviously I am with capital letters, because in His word, in the Bible, it says, or God says that I am the great I am, Jesus Christ. So there you can see the repetitive, and I assume that this is Louie Giglio. I'm not sure if I pronounced his name correctly. If you see life as your own one-act play and history as your story, you could be in for a rude awakening when the curtain finally closes on your tiny tale. And you, like a fairy tale, not your uh, tail at the back of your bone. And you discover that life wasn't all about you after all. That's quite a rude awakening. The real story of life is God. I am the main character and true star of time and eternity. He is at center stage in all of creation, and he wants you to know him by name. Knowing I am means celebrating your smallness in light of his greatness. Embrace the true meaning of life as you learn to work and rest in his power. Spending your life for what lasts forever, the unending glory that is God's alone. A little bit more about Louie Giglio. He's a passionate communicator and innovative thinker, and the author of the AI Brief Worship as a Way of Life. He is the founder of Passion Conferences. I don't even know how to pronounce this word. A collegiate movement calling people around the world to um, lives that make much of God. Louis and his wife Shelley live in Atlanta, Georgia, which I'm actually pursuing my doctorate degree from. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom into that a bit. So a little bit more about this book also, and me personally. A friend has given me this book to read, or borrowed it, and then we came across the topic of this book when I was in hospital, and I had to rest. I was a little bit fatigued and also had some other abdomen issues, and then she came and visited me, and then we started to speak about this book. So, for my mom, Martha Jean Giglio, I love you. So, I like the contents of this book. I really like the structure, and I would like to structure my school community the same way as start here, and then the next chapter, and the next chapter, and the next chapter. So, I'm going to start here with the first chapter, I'd like to say, and then probably just read the first one or two sentences, and then read the rest of the chapter without the camera on, and then give a review each chapter. I'm going to do that now. And you may see this may take a little bit of time, the book review, but I'm going to dive straight into it. And you might see that locations are changing and my attire is changing. It's just that this whole book review I'm not doing in one setting because I haven't prepared for it prior. But let's dive into it. Life is the tale of two stories, one finite and one frail, the other eternal and enduring. The tiny one, the story of us, is is as brief as the blink of an eye. Yet somehow our infatuation with our own little story and our determination to make it as big as we possibly can blinds us to the massive God story that surrounds us on every side. What does it look like I'm doing? Okay, so it's a little like me being shocked a few weeks ago by the reaction of two New York City's finest as they motioned me over to their squad cars. In the middle of my mid-morning run, the first officer's opening line, the exact wording of which I'm sad to say cannot be repeated here, led to the inexcusable reply, "What does it look like I'm doing?" Okay, so I'm going to read this now without the camera on and then give you my short review of the first chapter. So first things first, I first had to Google the word infatuation. I'm not sure if that is pronounced correctly. Um, so infatuation is a state of intense, often irrational passion for someone. Okay, so yet somehow our infatuation with our own little stories are almost like an obsession. Going to continue, you feel euphoria and have an idealized image of the person. It focuses heavily on physical attraction. Okay, so they also say here infatuation versus love, which I'm not going to go into. Well, I can. You ignore red flags and see the person as perfect. The feelings fade when the excitement wears off. Infatuation is almost like in love. Love, you accept the person's flaws. It requires work, commitment, and time. There's a big difference between being in love or infatuated and also loving someone. Loving someone is a choice and a commitment and a choice you make every day when you wake up. You decide to love that person, and that when you get married, that's a decision you make prior to getting married, and then on the day of marriage, when you say I do, that's the day you decide to start to love someone unconditionally. It's easier for Christians because we actually learn and know how it feels to be loved unconditionally, through the Word of God and through God, the Holy Spirit, the Son, and obviously the Father. So therefore, it becomes easier to love unconditionally, as we know how it feels to be loved unconditionally. Back to the book. So it is somehow our obsession with our own little story and our determination to make it as big as possibly or as possible in life that blinds us to God's story. Okay, so just also to recap, so I think it was Louie Giglio that was having his mid-morning run in New York. Bless him, I love New York. I was there in 2017, which is about almost 10 years, 10 years ago. Just mind, this book was published in, I think it was 2005. It seems like it was published in 2005. So it's quite some time ago. This book is about 21 years old. So he was having his mid-morning run in New York City when two of New York's finest, they pulled him over and probably asked him what he's doing, and he replied with, "What does it look like I'm doing?" And he quickly realized that it was the wrong thing to say to a New York cop. Okay, so I'm going to stop at page 12 now. So basically, Louie Giglio, I assume again, he was running down the New York freeway and he didn't even know it because there was rain pouring down. So there's a sentence or a passage here of page 12. How can you run down the middle of a New York freeway and not know it? I think the same way you can live your entire life completely oblivious to the grand story of the creator of the universe that is unfolding all around you. The same way you can spend your days making so much of someone as small and transient, another word I need to go and Google the meaning, as you or me, and so little of someone as glorious and eternal as God. I'm going to continue for this bit and then I will summarize these chapters and also give you my thoughts on them, so that we don't have to read directly out of this book. That's why this book is not about you and making your story better, but about waking up to the infinitely bigger God story happening all around you and God's invitation to you to join Him in it. It's about looking up to see that there's a story that has been going on long before you arrived on the planet, and one that will go on long after you're gone. God is the central character of the story and of this book. He commands center stage in existence, creation, time, life, history, redemption, and eternity. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Just want to read this bold letters. The story already has a star, and the star is not you or me. Okay. So I will continue with my chapter analysis, the summaries, and also my thoughts on each chapter, and then eventually my thoughts regarding the book as whole. It will take a little bit more like 8 minutes, and then let's keep it under the 20-minute mark for this entire video review. Seeing that this is an experimental first video, but I do want to do this video justice because of the title of this book and this book. My next videos will go a little bit more similar to this one. Chapter 1 summary, I am not, but I know I am, by Louie Giglio. I made some notes on my phone and help of AI as well. The big idea. The first chapter introduces the central message of the entire book. Life is not ultimately about you, it is about God. Louie Giglio argues that every person is living in one of two stories. Our own small story, temporary, fragile, and centered on ourselves, or God's great story, eternal, magnificent, and centered on His glory. Most people naturally make themselves the main character of life, but Giglio says this is the greatest mistake we can make. The story of running down the freeway. To illustrate this truth, Giglio shares a true story from New York City. While on a morning run in Manhattan, it started raining heavily. Looking only for shelter, he unknowingly crossed barriers and eventually found himself running down the middle of the 6-lane FDR freeway. And I don't even know what FDR means, so if someone can maybe tell me in the comment section. Because he was so focused on surviving the rain, he completely missed the obvious signs around him. Police eventually stopped him, amazed that someone could run down the middle of a freeway without realizing it. The spiritual lesson here is that Giglio says this is exactly how many people live spiritually. We become so focused on our careers, money, problems, dreams, success, comfort, that we completely miss the much bigger reality surrounding us, which is God's story. We can spend our entire lives obsessing over ourselves while remaining almost blind to what God is doing in the world. God is the main character. One of the strongest statements in the chapter is, the story already has a star, and the star is not you or me. God is the center of history. He was here before we were born. He will remain after we're gone. Everything exists because of Him and for Him. That doesn't mean we are unimportant. In fact, Giglio emphasizes that God deeply loves us and intentionally includes us in His story. But we are participants, not the central character. 2 ways to live. Giglio says we have a daily choice. Option 1, live as though life is all about us. This leads to pride, self-centered thinking, constant comparison, anxiety, and chasing temporary things. Option 2, join God's story. Instead of demanding the spotlight, we gladly take a supporting role in God's eternal purposes. Ironically, this is where we discover the deepest meaning and fulfillment. Why this matters? Our lives are incredibly short. Our own personal story will eventually end. But when our lives become connected to God's eternal story, what we do today carries eternal significance. Instead of living for temporary applause, we begin living for God's glory. Key quotes: life is the tale of 2 stories. The story already has a star, and the star is not you or me. God is the central character of the story. We can exchange our fleeting moment in the spotlight for a supporting role in the eternally beautiful epic that is the story of God. Main takeaways: stop viewing yourself as the center of life. God is writing a much bigger story than your own. Your greatest purpose is to join His story, not build your own kingdom. True fulfillment comes from living for God's glory rather than personal recognition, and although our lives are brief, they have eternal significance when surrendered to God. Reflection questions: am I building my kingdom or participating in God's kingdom? What currently occupies most of my attention, my own story or God's story? If God is the main character of history, how should that change the way I make decisions, work, lead my business, and serve others? The aim is to use our gifts, influence, and work to point people towards God's greater story that rather than our own story. In the next section of this video, I will do this a similar review, but not of each chapter individually, but of all the chapters combined in a probably 5-minute review. Just like to quickly quote a line that stood out for me in chapter 1. Okay, so we'll spend our days trying to hijack the story of God, turning it into the story of us, inverting reality. We live every day as though life is all about you and me. We live as though life is our one-act play and history, our story, as though creation is our habitation alone, existence our playground, and God our servant. That is, if we decide we need Him at all. That is quite a big say for a small book. I think this book is about 200 pages long, but it holds great volume and weight. And a final note for me regarding this chapter: this is one of the most perfect openings or introductions to a book, is the following. For a split second time stood still, and I then told him, I'm going to remind them that life is short and our time on earth is really brief, I said. That's why we have to make sure our lives count for the stuff that lasts forever. I'm going to leave you with that quote. Okay, so I did say I want to keep it under 20 minutes, and I would like to honor that. So, complete book review. My rating is 9.5. I do need to go into a deep study, but this is just a quick book review, and I know 20 minutes is probably not that quick, but here's a quick summary. So this book answers one of life's biggest questions. What if life isn't actually about me? Louie Giglio challenges the idea that we are the main character of our own story. Instead, he argues that God is the center of history, and true purpose is found when we stop building our own kingdom and start participating in His. Throughout the book, Giglio uses powerful stories, biblical teaching, and practical examples to show that our lives become most meaningful when they're lived for God's glory rather than our own. The message is both humbling and freeing. It's not about thinking less of yourself, it's about thinking more of God. The key lessons: firstly, God is the main character of history. True purpose comes from serving God's mission, not your own ambitions. Lasting significance is found in living for eternity, not temporary success. Humility is weakness. It's the door, or isn't weakness. It's the doorway to real freedom. Your life matters more when it points people to God. Who should read this? I highly recommend this book if you're looking for deeper purpose, growing in your Christian faith, a leader, entrepreneur, or student seeking a God-centered perspective, or tired of the culture telling you that life is all about you. Final verdict: I'm not, but I know I am, is a simple but powerful reminder that life isn't about being the star, it's about knowing the one who is. If you're willing to shift your focus from yourself to God, this book has the potential to change the way you see your purpose, your work, and your life. My favorite quote: "The story already has a star, and the star is not you or me." I hope you enjoyed this short book review, and if you'd like for me to have a rather larger book review, which will um, be more or less about 60 minutes, so an hour rather than 20 minutes, um, you are welcome to share your opinion, your thoughts in the comment section, and also what you would like if I should dive a little bit deeper into each chapter like I did with the first one. Thank you for watching, and if you liked this video, you can follow, like this video, and subscribe, and yeah, you will probably see a little bit more of this type of content.